Hey again from the garden, it's Christina from Sunshine and Flora. So I am out this morning working in the hoop house, and I thought I would set the camera up and show you guys what I am doing. Two things. My family and I are getting ready to leave on a vacation, and so I'm kind of feeling the scramble and a little bit stressed about the garden. So I'm trying to get a bunch done before we leave in a few days. Also, if you've been watching my channel for a few years, you know that every year in September, I do a big end of the season market where there is 100 vendors, thousands of people. So I'm prepping for that market. We are 55 days away from when I will be doing my harvest for that market. And I am not quite sure if I'm going to have the dahlia harvest that I had in previous years. I'm not sure about my zinnias. This year has just been really crazy. So I'm going heavy on the sunflowers, so that's what I'm really working on this morning. So you're probably thinking, but you're in your hoop house and you're planting sunflowers. Yes, I am. So I've got a bunch of volunteer sunflowers right behind me. They seeded themselves from last year. But last year, about this time in the season, I planted this whole center row with a whole variety of things just to kind of test it out and see what I could get to grow here. And sunflowers grew really well. And this is a tilled area of the garden that I have open and ready. So why not? I'm gonna plant it. I've got my soaker hoses laid. They're ready to go. This is where my ranunculus was at the beginning of the year. And basically it's just been weeds ever since then. So this is going to be really easy and fast to plant. So what I'm going to do, and I'll show you when I do this, but I'm going to take my hoe and I'm going to make a little trough right next to each line of soaker hoses. And then I'm going to plant my sunflowers. Now, I weeded this morning. I scraped a bunch of the debris off the top. You can see there's still some brown. It's Ami, it's ranunculus, but I mean, that's fine. It's just going to disintegrate and feed the soil. And I already did water it in because it is really, really dry. So once I get this planted, I'm gonna water it in again, and then I'm gonna be running my soaker hoses for that deep, slow watering, and that's gonna really get these plants germinating, especially with the heat we are having right now. We're actually in a heat advisory today, so it's so hot in here right now, but it's the morning, and I'm just ready to get this done. So let's go ahead and make the troughs for planting. I also should mention I'm gonna do a little hoop house maintenance at the end of this video, so watch the whole thing. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this good enough. I'm just gonna take my hoe and I'm just gonna drag it along the edge. And really, since I watered, just the top of the soil is wet. So that really goes to show how much you need to soak it in. So I'm just gonna go like that. And then actually I think I'm gonna go on the inside of this one. Go back and forth a few times. And then I'm gonna go on the inside of this one so it doesn't get too close to my pathway. Whoop, I hit a root. Sunflowers are not picky where they grow. I'm not putting down any fertilizer. I'm not amending the soil. That is why this area is going to be so easy to plant. I also am keeping a little bit of space over here from the volunteer ones. All right, so I probably made my troughs maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep. I don't really measure. It doesn't have to really be exact. Again, sunflowers are not picky, but I wouldn't go any deeper than that. And I'm gonna be planting two different kinds today. These are both Pro-Cut sunflowers, the standard orange looking sunflower. One is the Pro-Cut Orange Excel. That is about 50 to 55 days to maturity. The next one is Pro-Cut Brilliance, which is about 50 to 60 days to maturity. So technically, the Pro-Cut Brilliance should be a little bit slower, but honestly, with the heat that we have in the summer and how hot my garden gets with kind of the rock around it, they're probably going to go pretty fast. So I think I'm just going to get the 50 to 60 day, because it's a smaller packet, in first. And I will move the camera closer in a second to show you, but it's pretty easy. I also planted about 150 of these outside this morning. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop them in the little trough that I made about 4 inches apart. That's it. Super easy. All right, let me move the camera closer so you guys can see. And as I plant them, I'm kind of crazy. I like to count how many I plant so then I know about how many I have on the ground. All right, so this is where we're working. I am not sure that you're even going to be able to see the seeds go in the ground, but I'll point out where they are. So they're kind of spaced this far apart, which to me is about 4 inches. 13, 14, 15, 17. So the closer together that you plant sunflowers, the smaller the actual head or the flower of the sunflower is. So I like about 4 to 5 inches because that gives me a really nice workable size bloom for my wrapped cut flower bouquets or my little jelly jar arrangements. But anyway, this is a pretty simple process. I am just going to see how many I can get in this area, and then I will water it in really good, and then we'll do a couple other maintenance things really quick. All right, the sunflowers are covered. They're all watered in and ready to go. I'm going to come out here again later today and give them a good soaking, and probably also run the soaker hoses because this soil is just so dry. I want to make sure that the water really gets down in there deep. And I'm really glad to be done working in here today because it's really heating up. But I've got 2 more really quick things to do. The first thing is I want to go through this Snapdragon patch, and the Snapdragons that got away from me that I didn't harvest, I just want to go through and I want to clip them way down at the base of the plant. And I'm doing this because just letting them go to seed like they're doing right now, we've got some weeds in here too, that is taking energy away from the plant and will slow down its flowering time, or it may not flower very good again. So if I want to get more blooms this season, because these were not pinched when I planted them, I'm basically kind of pinching them now. I'm cutting them way down at the bottom above a set of leaves, and I'm doing this real quick, and then this will encourage them to branch while I'm gone on vacation. And there's not very many to do because I harvested this patch pretty darn good. Not amazing, but pretty good. There's one I missed. There's one I missed. Try not to step on them. It's hard to reach in here. All right. Okay, we'll get rid of a couple of the weeds. Okay, that's done. The last thing we're gonna do is harvest some vegetables. So I've never grown vegetables in my hoop house before, and I have to say it's definitely a success this year. I've got some tomatoes trained to go up these strings that are tied to the top of the hoop house. They're doing pretty good, minus the weeds behind them. I'll have to get rid of those from the outside of the hoop house. I'll pull in and grab them. But these are specific hoop house varieties that grow well in this environment, and you can plant them a little early so they can kind of take the cooler weather too. And actually this one's kind of fallen over. I've got 2 liters on this one. I've got one that is a Roma type tomato. I've got a cherry tomato, and then I've got a bunch of peppers here at the bottom. And there's quite a few of the tomatoes ready, and I do not want these to go to waste. So I'm just gonna go through, harvest what I have ready, take them home. Now I've got a couple Romas on here. One of them seems ready. Oh, it's got blossom end rot. Shoot. And I just broke that stem. Let me clip that one. Okay, so if your tomato on the bottom gets like a dark circle, this one isn't too bad. I'm going to take it home. We'll just slice it for a sandwich. That's called blossom end rot. And peppers can get that too. In fact, here's a really bad pepper that has it. I'm going to just have to compost that. From what and here's another one. They're the early ones. They're rotten on the bottom. The other ones look fine. And I'm actually not going to harvest any peppers today, but I'll zoom in quick and show you what they look like. There's some big ones here. These technically Sprinter. I don't know if that's green or yellow or red, but I'm actually going to just leave these on the plant. Here's a cute little yellow one that's looking pretty good. Blossom end rot, from what I understand, is inconsistent water, or is it a calcium deficiency? I'll put it up on the screen. Either way, sometimes early in the season I have that problem, but everything else looks really good. Let me just zoom in really quick and show you what these look like close up. All right, so I've got a few little cherry tomatoes here, but if we move over, I've got some nice big clusters of the Hoophouse Roma type tomato, and there's just clusters completely up the vine. These are looking way better than my Roma tomatoes at home. In fact, there's another cluster down here. Then I've got a slicer over here, and then the cherry tomatoes, of course, but then I've got some peppers. Ooh, here's a jalapeno that's looking good. Let me try to get him. This is real bad camera work right now. Here we go. Nice big size jalapeno. I actually picked a whole bunch of those last night. But down here, I've got some really nice bell peppers. And over here, there's a couple more. So I'm guessing by the time that we get back from vacation, I'm gonna have maybe some celosia to harvest. My sunflowers hopefully will be germinated. I have someone watering while I am gone, for those of you that are wondering. Maybe I'll have some more Lysianthus ready and probably vegetables ready. So it'll be a big garden surprise when we get home. But anyway, I am completely disgusting. I've got to go home and shower because I've got a meeting in an hour. So I'm going to wrap up this video. Thank you for spending time with me in the Hoop House this morning. Watch for many more garden videos coming up. We'll see you soon.